Alright, so today we are going to be making a sort of like a coat hanger and backpack holder that we put on the side of the wall for my kids' backpacks and coats. Winter's coming up and need some place to store that. So I got some scrap wood laying around. We'll see what I can't make. Alright, so we are going to start out by taking this reclaimed wood, removing these staples and nails, and we're about to be cutting this down. This is some wood that I'd actually broke down from an old waterbed from the 80s. Been wondering what I'm going to be doing with this wood, and this turns out to be a nice project for this. So to start off, we're going to take this over to the miter saw, and as you can see from the video here that I am spacing this out to try to see what's going to look best on this board. I decided at about 13-14 inches in between, and this board is going to be 36 inches wide. There's going to be about 4 of these boards here that's going to make it about 6 inches tall, and we are going to be edge gluing these together for one large piece. Alright, so I do not have a joiner, and as you can tell here, I'm using a level to kind of edge joint these boards with the table saw. It works really, really well. I learned this trick over at Matt from 731 Woodworks, and this works really, really well. So to kind of explain this, this is some old wood that I broke down from a queen waterbed from the 80s. It's just been laying around. I don't know what I was going to use it for, but I knew I was going to eventually use it for something, and it turns out looks like this may be a really good project to use this on. So I am liking how this is coming out. Now you've got to remember some variances because of, I assume, spray stain. All that's going to get cleaned up. Wood's going to look like this. I'm going to refinish it. I'm going to put an edge around it, and then these decorative iron hooks are going to go on here just like so. There's going to be a bolt here with a washer on the back to hold the weight of these children's heavy book bags. So I bought this little dowlet jig, I don't know, a year and a half ago. Haven't used it. This is the perfect project to test this out on. So let's get to it. Let's see how this works. All right, so we're going to start out by putting a dowel on each edge of the boards and one in the center. You're going to see in a second, I actually end up making a spacer so I can get consistent holes with the center holes. So once I get all these together, I kind of test fit, and then the dowels that I'm using are a little bit too long, so I end up cutting those just a little bit, gluing everything up, and waiting for it to dry. Once the glue is dried, I go back with a chisel and kind of take all this off, and I put it through the planer and get ready for table saw. So here, I don't know why I'm using a clamp to hold those, but I was cutting off the edge, making them straight. Now I'm about to be making my 90-degree cut. I'm going to do that on all 4 sides, on both boards. And I'm going to come back, I'm going to start sanding it with 120 grit, and then after I get done sanding with 120 grit, I go over to 220 grit. And this is on both boards, and kind of get it ready for staining and finishing. In hindsight, I kind of wish I had drilled the holes for the hooks first before I did all this. I don't know why I didn't film it, but I stained this with 2 different stains. I stained it first with a dark ebony stain, kind of washed it off with some acetone, and then I went back over it with some brown stain. Came out really, really well, gave it this nice rustic look. And you can see here I am using a shellac finish. I absolutely love shellac. On these boards, I put 5 coats. I put 3 coats on the first day, then I'll put 2 more coats on the second day, and then wait. Alright, so I'm using this old shirt as kind of a protective barrier between my workbench and the finish, because the finish came out really, really nice, and I didn't want to damage it. As you can see here, I'm putting some tape down, and what I'm doing with this is I'm actually using it as a 1-inch spacer so that I can easily reference everything on the board, marking my holes, getting ready to drill that. Just measuring the board. Not actually until after this, when I installed this, I realized I did not cut these to the proper length. I cut one board a little over, which causes me some issues in installation. So after I get this done, I'm going to drill these holes. And I'm going to take it over to my drill press and flip it over and drill down about a 1/4 of an inch, a little over 1/4 of an inch, to kind of recess the bolt and washer that I'm going to use to reinforce the hooks with so they don't pull through the wood. Alright, so I'm going to start out by getting the first hook, putting the bolt through it, and I've got a wrench that I'm using to tighten this up with. And it was at this point I realized that I bought 2 different lengths of bolts. And so I'm going to try to take my multi-tool and cut that off, but my blade was too dull, so I ended up having to get my hacksaw. Took a piece of cardboard and put it over there so I can protect the edge. Just quickly cut that off, took the file down, took off the edges. Did the same thing. This one was a little bit more difficult because it was the corner. I ended up having to get multiple pieces of cardboard, try to protect that edge. All in all, went just fine. Got it sawed off, took the file down to it, and yep, and there we are. Alright, so I had already installed the bottom board to try to get an idea of how I was going to do this, and I realized that I had actually undercut this just by a couple of inches whenever I initially built these. It was just in a couple of seconds here that I realized that the top board was also shorter than the bottom. I put a screw through the center to mount it so I can measure for the other ones. I don't have a stud finder, so easiest way, knock on the drywall, find where the stud is generally at, then I take a little pick and I just put it through until I find the stud. It's being hidden behind the board, and if we ever take it down, it's easy enough to cover up with some drywall mud. So you see me here trying to mount that center screw. Gonna level it, put everything in its place. Yeah, it was at this point that I realized I screwed up. So I am attempting to figure out what's going on here. I hadn't quite realized that the board was not as long as the other one. So I essentially just decided to double down on the screws on the middle stud and the one to the left. It was just going to hold, coats and stuff. It wasn't going to hold any of the heavy book bags. Thankfully, I had put that one on the bottom, and that one was secured just fine into 3 studs. So that's exactly what I do. I secure 2 additional screws and move on. It's not going to be holding a whole lot of weight, so it'll be all right. So that concludes this video, guys. Hopefully you like this. If you do, make sure to comment, like, subscribe down below. It really helps me grow this channel. Be greatly appreciated. And if you have any questions, just leave a comment down below. I'll try to answer those. Until the next video, have a great day.